What's up, fam? Welcome back to this episode of Off the Reservation, a show that should come with its own FBI warning before the episode. You know, in fact, let's roll that right now. All right, and I'm your number one wizard, Mal.
I'm El.
And I'm the son of Picasso.
The son of who?
The son of who?
Yeah,
what's
up?
Yeah, all right, let's just jump into it. I mean, like it's obvious, it's out there. We've all seen it. A new movie is coming out from the great Martin Scorsese. It's going to be coming out October 6th. The Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
And,
I thought you were talking about The Departed too.
Yeah.
Oh, that movie is dope though. Departed.
Yeah.
Departed.
Yeah.
Are you a cop?
You a cop? You gotta tell me.
Oh, you a cop? You gotta tell me if you are. Anyways,
yeah.
Sorry.
So the movie is actually I thought it was pretty cool because the movie is based off a book.
They just dropped the trailer, man. The trailer looked really good, right? Did you guys see that?
Everyone's talking about it.
I know you were telling me that Martin Scorsese has a different viewpoint with this movie, or at least he was trying to achieve something different. I don't know.
Yeah, so real quick on the book. So the book, it came out, I think it was like 2016, written by David Grann.
Oh, it's that recent?
What shocked me, hold on real fast. What shocked me was his choice to cast Jonah Hill as an Osage chief. That just shocked me. But we'll
I mean, I think he proved himself in Wolf of Wall Street, you know?
He's such a versatile actor, you know.
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. He's going places, that guy.
You can just see him sitting there with the headdress on, like, come on, guys, what's going on? We gotta solve these murders, man.
Did he ever play a native guy in something? I know there's he's like all those actors, like at some point, like they just mess around, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think of like Ben Stiller in like Anchorman, where he's like the Mexican.
The Chicano.
Yeah, he's like the Chicano news, you know? Ay, ay, ay. You know?
Anyway, I didn't mean to derail
Anyways,
us.
yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, the book, I read the book a few years ago, and you know, I thought it was pretty cool because it for me fits right into that niche of like Native American stuff happening and true crime.
Oh yeah.
And because what it is, the full name of it is the Killers of the Flower Moon, the Murders on the of the Osage, and the Birth of the FBI. And so it was with these murders, these serial killings happening. It was the first time the FBI, the government was like, hey, we need to get involved in this.
Yeah.
And it was like spearheaded by who was it? It was the person before Hoover.
I don't know the history of the FBI, but okay, yeah.
And then eventually it got federalized and made a bigger thing by Hoover, J. Edgar Hoover.
So
Man, that guy was a weirdo.
For me, I didn't. Leonardo DiCaprio played J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah,
he's also in this
that's
movie,
funny.
so we'll see. Maybe he.
So I think it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, no, the movie looks really cool. But I remember you telling me that the movie centers around a lot of corruption, murder, just downright
bad
evil stuff,
things.
man.
Yeah.
Evil people, basically. But a lot of it is perpetrated by white people. Mm-hmm. And I remember you saying that Martin Scorsese was like, I'm not trying to make this movie with a white savior, you know?
Yeah.
Which is interesting because you think about a lot of these historical 12 Years a Slave. Do you guys remember that one? Did you guys see that one? And they were like, oh, the movie was really good, except they made Brad Pitt the savior, you know, and that was I'll get you out of the South. And it's he was the white savior, you know. And it's
that's Matt Damon in The Great Wall. He was the white savior, even though he was Chinese.
Exactly.
Let's just name all the white savior movies.
Pocahontas, right? You
Dances
know?
with Wolves.
Yeah.
But in this particular event, they were the perpetrators.
Yeah.
There was not the
And that's what I'm excited. I'm excited to see that portrayal, at least in like a historical sense, you know.
Well, and so from what I had seen, he had done an interview with somebody, and he said that he didn't want it to be another white savior movie. He wanted to show how Leonardo DiCaprio, who's playing Ernest Burkhart,
Ernest Borgnine.
his struggle with, like, because in the book, and for the most part, his relationship to his Osage wife was that he really did care about her.
Yeah, but he got pushed into doing some...
But he was still aware of all the awful things that was doing, and he had done a lot of awful things. And
all right, well, so let's get into it. Let's get into what the story. What's the setup here? What happened to get us to the beginning of the story?
So the setup was basically the government was at the point where they were taking the land away from the Native Americans.
Right. This is 1910s, you said? Some Picasso?
Well, this particular story happens in the starts
20s.
Off at the 1910s.
Oh, 1910s.
Yeah.
But I don't...
And so basically the government, you know, the writing on the
early
wall,
1900s.
Yeah. The writing on the wall was they're going to be taking away our land. And so the Osage bought land from the Cherokees, and they established the Osage County, that kind of area.
So just to be clear, that we're talking about Oklahoma here.
Yeah, Oklahoma. Yeah. Osage County, Oklahoma.
Right.
And they started living there. Well, in the process of trying to buy this and get the land rights, there was their leader was, in English terms, Chief Big Heart. He ended up employing
the help of a lawyer, right?
A lawyer.
What's his name? John
Palmer. And the cool thing about him was that he was half Osage, half white.
Oh, okay.
His parents were like his father was like a trapper, and his mother was Osage.
Oh, yeah.
And so
father was a trapper.
Okay. And so with his help, he ended up getting the mineral rights
that was
to the land.
Big thing. That was a big thing, was that like they fought to get these mineral rights, like, you know, in an otherwise like the government didn't really care, like at this point. They were like, whatever, you guys want to have this land, you can have it.
Yeah, and it
at
wasn't
this point
that great.
The land was deemed worthless, right?
Yeah, it wasn't anything special.
Yeah.
Which is typical with any reservations that Native Americans get put on.
Give you the crappiest piece of land, we don't care. Yeah.
Which is funny because now they're finding, like, all across the board, the natives have like the most mineral rich lands that they've been put on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically they put them on they buy the Osage County from the Cherokees, and
so they secure the land, they've got mineral rights, and then the boom of like the automobile and the like
all of that happens.
So what happens is, like, right around 1910, the oil boom happens.
Right.
And they go from, you know, being poor natives to being some of the richest people on the planet Earth.
Yep.
And like, we're talking about Saudi oil wealth, right?
Right.
So, and if you think about that and you translate it into modern terms, like, this is why the Saudis are having problems now, because the same people are perpetrating the same crimes just on the other side of the world. And so you're like, this is why society is the way it is, because that's the way they want it.
History's cyclical, man.
Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting.
So all right. So we strike oil in their area, and like you said, they become rich, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
so the cool
like
thing,
rich,
they're rich beyond rich.
They're rich.
And like, this is like back when we were still on the gold standard, right? So like, this is like the richest people on the planet, right?
And so in the process, basically to discount everything that's happening, because they're like, the newspapers now in New York on the East Coast are like writing about the Osage and being like, they're the most wealthiest per capita group, and they're buying houses, they're buying cars, they're buying furs and just throwing them out right after they wear them and everything, which isn't true.
Here's a big fact of the matter, right? So at this time, natives were deemed stupid and illiterate. We weren't deemed intelligent enough to be able to have this level of wealth, right?
Well, that was part of the conspiracy, right?
And so at this time, we were given overseers, right?
Called guardianship. So it's the guardianship
So
of 19.
If you take the word overseer and you translate it into modern terms, it's officer, right? That leads you straight to officers that are overseers.
KRS-One, bro.
And like you really think about society, like 1910, that was just 2 generations ago. That's your great grandma, right?
Yeah.
Like that's wild to think about.
Like our dad was born in 1952.
Like 1952, yeah. Like this is just a generation, and like these people that perpetrated, their family is still alive, right? Like Oklahoma is like good old boy country, like, and I actually live there,
Yeah.
and like we're talking like that level of corruption is still alive today, like like very much alive,
Yeah.
and like they call it the Oklahoma Mafia, like these things are real, and.
So real quick, let's establish who are the main characters. So the main characters of the whole thing, it starts with William King Hale. Now William King Hale, he was
who was he?
He was a cattle rustler back when he was younger, and then eventually he did a few unscrupulous things, and then found out when the Osage got their money and started getting their money, he moved in and started.
You have to think of this town, right, was a boom town. So the people that were attracted to these places are like the same type of people that are attracted up north, where they're having all the missing women, right? These are people that have no social security numbers, that are like deplorable people, right? And so that's who were attracted to these boom towns. And so you had prostitutes, you had just outright strong-arm robbers that were moving to Osage County to take advantage of all of these natives. And like Mal was saying, it was being publicized all over the world as oil struck big, Osage County, the richest people on the planet. And so people just were like, let's go there, let's take advantage of these natives and see if we can marry in, yada yada yada.
And so, well, William Hale, he eventually gets dubbed as the king of the Osage County. King of the Osage Hills. Basically, he had integrated himself in every facet of life. He had a guardianship, he had land, he had cattle, and he was doing all these things. And basically
he was running the town.
Yeah, well, he went from
controlling the purse strings of all of these natives who were making all of these monies, because what was happening were these oil rigs were being leased out to the government. So the government was giving these payments to these white overseers, and they in turn were funneling that money to the governor. They were funneling that money to sheriffs. They were funneling money. They were pretty much bolstering up his position in the county is pretty much what Mal is saying.
Yeah. So what he was doing is the thing is that he was a wolf in sheep's clothing, because essentially what he was doing is he had an upstanding relationship with everyone in the town. Everyone looked to him. He was even I think sheriff at one point, and like had some kind of legitimate law enforcement deal.
Yeah. So he's been in all of this, right?
Yeah. So he's essentially the kingpin. He's on top. He's the top dog.
Yeah.
That being said, what he ends up having is he has 2 nephews, Ernest Burkhart, and I can't remember the other.
Yeah. This is Son of Picasso had this.
Right
Henry Rowan.
So this is W.K. Hale, right? He's the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had the nephew Ernest Burkhart, and
he ended up marrying into
the Osage family.
The Osage family, and his wife was Molly Burkhart, and she had a sister, Anna Brown, and another sister named Minnie.
There was like 3 sisters, right?
Yeah, Rita Smith, Minnie. And basically what ends up happening is at one point their mother ends up getting sick, and I think she has diabetes or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it all starts with the killing of Anna Brown. Basically she gets in a car with what's his name? Ernest Burkhart's brother.
Oh.
And they go out.
Brian.
Yeah, Brian Burkhart. Mm-hmm. And she goes missing. They can't find her for a few days. They find her body down by her creek, and she's got a bullet hole in her head.
Yeah, execution style.
And she was pregnant.
She was pregnant as well.
And she was said to be pregnant with Hale's baby.
Oh, jeez.
So this all happens. People are like, oh my gosh. Well, at the same time, another man was killed, Henry Rowan. And Henry Rowan was another native, and he had Hale had taken out a life insurance or something like that on him, and he ended up getting murdered. And when that happens, they paid out not only his life insurance but also his head rights to the oil that he had.
That went to Hale.
Yeah, so as you can see, it's like $25,000, which like that was 25,000 in their money. Like in today's money, that would be
like millions.
And so when that happened, so when Anna was killed, her oil head rights went to her mother Lizzie, and when Lizzie passed, it got passed on to Molly, who was the oldest sister.
Right. And Molly is married to Ernest, who is the nephew of Hale.
So now she's got
this is
her
like the craziest
oil rights.
native, like just
Yeah.
So
but what's crazy is Liz dies like literally 2 months after
Anna.
Yeah. So it's just boom,
so
boom,
it's
boom.
like in this family, everybody's just kind of dropping.
And
right?
now what's happened is Molly has been diagnosed with sugar diabetes, which is diabetes. And so now she starts getting insulin shots given to her by the local doctors.
It's that Oklahoma sweet tea.
And
gotta cut back.
And so as this is happening, she starts getting sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. And so now she's depressed because her sister died. She's depressed because her mom died. And I believe, and so then she's sitting there and she's like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I want to find the killer of my sister. So all these PIs and everyone comes in.
It's almost like she was in denial that her husband was involved.
The thing is Ernest along with Hale were like the biggest supporters of like, hey, we're going to find out who did this. We're not going to leave any stone unturned.
They were playing both sides really heavy.
And so he was like,
snakes in the grass.
Well, he was hiring private PIs, private.
They were trying to run an investigation.
Pickford, not Pickford. The guys that really got big, running stuff.
So at the same time, too, let me remind everybody that even though that was her husband, that was still her overseer. She married her overseer.
So he had the guardianship over her and everything.
Yeah, so he
was controlling her finances. Yeah. So he wasn't just doing this out of the good of his heart.
Yeah, he wasn't in love.
So here's the thing, is that the guardianship wasn't just for them. It was so during this time, guardianships were either, it's that like you got good apples and bad apples. Like people were when the Osage had to go buy food, had to buy all these things. They had white people prices, and then they had Indian prices.
Oh yeah, and so they knew they were so rich, and they like tripled the price on them just to really make money because they knew they had the money. So they were like,
and so there
they
was
had some good like guardians that were like, nah, you give us the right price for this kind of stuff or what?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then for the most part, there was a story about this guy who he was a guardian who had a store, and he bought a car for like, I think it said like he bought it for like $1,000 and sold it to an Osage for $25,000.
Jeez.
Which is, I mean, like today you could buy a car for $25,000.
Yeah.
And the ridiculous markup of that. So when Molly had to go bury her sister Anna Brown, it was said that after all the expenses of a casket, embalming, digging, the gloves, the shovel, the robes, everything was so marked up that it almost costs over $6,000 just to bury her in that time.
Right.
That's like the same amount of money it would cost today. Like,
it was just in the time when a penny was like
That sounds like a government contract. Like, let's just like quadruple the price.
yeah.
So they were getting everything marked up. Everybody's after their money. What happens next?
So then,
Anna Brown died.
So here's the crazy thing. So then, William Hale is like, I need to get as much money as I can. So he ends up having Ernest hire a guy, go around looking for somebody to take out Molly, not Minnie. And so
the next sister.
And so Ernest goes around and he...
At this point, too, so he's holding the purse strings for a ton of people in the tribe, this Hale. So he found a way to funnel all of those payouts to this family where he's still making all that money. So he's embezzling from not just this family, but from other tribal members.
Like funnel all that money into one family, kill them all off. It comes back to me and it's mine.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a cash grab.
So
Ernest cash grab.
Ultimately, what ends up happening is Ernest goes through all these different people who are unscrupulous, underworld of the Osage County.
Yeah.
And ends up finding this guy who's got a light parole, a light sentence in prison.
Yeah.
And he ends up hiring him to take nitroglycerin, a jug of nitroglycerin, stash it in Minnie's house, and he had like a 3-foot long fuse, lit it, booked it back, made it back to the jail. And the jail, like, he had the jailers drive him out there. So it's not just like in the dark, Ernest was doing this. It was the jailer drove him out there.
So like that just shows another level of corruption. Like
it's all the way to the top, dude.
And then they're not doing it for free, right? It's like they're using native money to kill natives.
Yeah.
So
that's messed up.
So okay, on that note, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Yeah. Guys, this is gonna be a 2-parter.
Nitroglycerin, man.
All right, nitroglycerin, man.
Nitroglycerin, all on the nitro.
My hair bulge is all wrong.
People pay attention to the bulge. Hair bulge.
Hair bulge.